Hi there, and welcome to the Entrepreneur's Therapist podcast. I'm your host, Shulamit Bear Lev Tov, and I'm the Entrepreneur's Therapist. You can call me Shula for short. My pronouns are she, hers. This is the podcast for business owners, solopreneurs, micropreneurs, freelancers, and self-employed folks who want support for riding the emotional roller coaster of running a business. I'm on a mission to mitigate the entrepreneurial mental health crisis and transform the entrepreneurial ecosystem to include the whole human founder as a business priority. I do that through this podcast, of course, and also through speaking, teaching, and consulting, and by supporting women business owners to preserve their peace of mind as they ride the emotional roller coaster of running a business in this era of relentless stressors that can make you want to lose your crap on the daily. This podcast is being recorded on lands that have been stewarded for 10,000 years and to this day by the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. Land acknowledgements are calls to action from Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and this is your call to action to at least find out whose land you're on and share that information with other folks, and to take what other actions you can toward reconciliation, because the harms caused by settler colonialism are ongoing. Today, I'm going to talk about financial abuse, and in particular, financial abuse in your intimate relationship, your relationship with your primary partner, your beloved, your spouse, your husband, your wife, and how it affects you as a business owner. So in the realm of interpersonal relationships, discussion about abuse often focuses on physical or emotional harm. But there's another form of abuse that can have profound and lasting effects, and that's financial abuse. In the context of intimate partner relationships, financial abuse involves controlling, manipulating, or exploiting a partner's financial resources to maintain power and control. And this is the thing about all intimate relationship abuse. The point of the abuse is to maintain power and control over the partner. If you've experienced financial abuse in a controlling relationship, you're not alone. I've experienced it. Of the 44% of Canadian women who have experienced domestic violence, 95% of them have experienced financial abuse. 41% of US American women who have reported abuse in their intimate partner relationships, they've experienced financial abuse 99% of the time. So I'm going to say that again. 44% of Canadian women and 41% of US American women have reported abuse in their intimate partner relationships. For Canadian women who've experienced abuse, financial abuse is an experience 95% of the time. And for the US American women who've experienced intimate partner abuse in their intimate partner relationship, they've experienced financial abuse as a component of that 99% of the time. So I'll say it again. If you've experienced financial abuse in a controlling relationship, you're not alone. Economic and financial abuse can have far-reaching consequences for business owners. So you might find yourself navigating the complexities of entrepreneurship while at the same time grappling with the aftermath of financial abuse and other abuses. So how do we define financial abuse anyway? Well, first of all, it can be hard to identify. For me, in recovery from my abusive relationship, it was a long way down the road before I identified that an aspect of the power and control that I had experienced at the hands of my husband at the time, that financial abuse was a component of that. And this is mainly because of social taboos about discussing money. Women don't have access to information about what is and isn't a healthy financial relationship. And also another reason that makes it difficult to identify is that this experience of financial abuse can be like boiling a frog. It doesn't happen suddenly or all at once. The temperature just increases bit by bit. So the escalation in the relationship is only minimally noticeable until suddenly you find yourself in boiling water. And As I said, as with all types of abuse, financial abuse is rooted in the desire of one partner to have power and control over the other. Financial abuse is one of the tactics used on purpose, with intention, to manipulate, intimidate, and threaten the victim in order to entrap them in the relationship. So, side note, when people say, why don't women leave? This is one of the many, many conditions, one of the many barriers that prevent them from leaving, is this manipulation, intimidation, and threats of a financial nature to the victim and entrapping them in the relationship. It can be helpful to think of financial abuse as a subcategory of economic abuse. Financial abuse refers to abuse in the realm of money specifically. Economic abuse is a much wider term that encompasses not only money, but also property and other economic resources. And together, these terms describe a pattern of control, exploitation, or manipulation of financial resources that undermines an individual's autonomy, security, and well-being. So the link to the show notes will be in the description, and there are details in the show notes of links you can click to learn more about financial and economic abuse and about power and control. So I recommend that when you have an opportunity, you go into the description and click the show notes and take a look at the resources there. So although both men and women experience abuse, women are 4 times more likely to be affected than men, and transgender women and women with disabilities are at a much higher risk of experiencing abuse in their intimate partner relationships. The use of financial or economic abuse is gendered and cuts across all racialized groups and income levels. So usually it's a man using economic control, economic exploitation, and employment sabotage. So I'll give you some details, some examples. What does this look like of financial and economic abuse? Controlling access to money. So for example, limiting a partner's access to their own finances by withholding funds, controlling bank accounts, or monitoring spending. Forcing financial dependence, pressuring a partner to quit their job, preventing them from pursuing education or employment opportunities, or sabotaging their financial independence. Conversely, the abusing partner can refuse to work, forcing their partner to support them. And often these kinds of tactics are disguised as care, in quotation marks, care. For example, this forcing of financial dependence frequently happens with women who have children. The partner who's not doing the parenting, most often a man, will pressure the partner who's doing the parenting, most often a woman. Oh, but it's so complicated and so difficult for you to be working. And there's so much pressure on you. Why don't you just stay home? And we need somebody. We love our children. We want to give our children the best care possible. Who better to stay home with them than you, right? And it sounds persuasive. But in the context of a situation of power and control by one partner over the other, this is an instance of financial abuse. Exploiting assets, using a partner's assets or credit without their consent, coercing them into signing financial agreements, or exploiting joint investments for personal gain. Sabotaging financial stability, intentionally causing financial harm, such as accumulating debt in a partner's name, destroying property, or undermining their business ventures. And finally, one last example, isolating from resources, cutting off access to support networks, resources, or financial assistance, or leaving the partner vulnerable and independent. And that's the main thing that happens in these situations of financial and economic abuse. The whole idea is to leave the partner vulnerable and dependent. So financial abuse, as I mentioned earlier, has been something I've experienced. I'm a survivor of an abusive relationship, and financial abuse was a significant component of that relationship. The first incident involved using my credits. My credit score was good, and my husband at the time wanted a Jeep. And Jeeps to this day are very expensive, but certainly in that time they were they were expensive for us and our means at the time, but he didn't have either the income or the credit to buy one. And he bullied me for days until I caved in and co-signed the loan. I remember that. I can even feel the feelings about it, like feel the sensations in my body and the emotions, even though it's more than 30 years ago now. After we graduated from school, because that's where we met, he refused to work at the exact job he believed, he refused to work except at the exact job he believed should be his, because any other job was beneath him and an insult. This is what he said to me. And so for my entire, I got pregnant by accident, our birth control failed. And then for my entire pregnancy, and side note, I was nauseous and throwing up for the duration. I weighed less the day I gave birth, after I gave birth, than the day I got pregnant. That's how sick I was during the pregnancy. And yet for that entire pregnancy, I worked and he didn't. After our daughter was born, as before she was born, I was entirely responsible for running the household. And my husband at the time blamed me for spending all our money. Well, I was on maternity leave. My husband at the time finally decided to apply for work. And while he was away at his long-term training that he needed, it was a residential training, he needed to be away from home for about 3 months, I think. He was earning a full-time paycheck, but he kept his entire pay. And I only had the 60% of my income provided by unemployment insurance for my daughter and I to live on. And this doesn't include the many, many times he berated and criticized me about money and money-related topics, but I just thought it was the regular conflicts couples have over money. It was only long after I left him that I learned that I had experienced financial abuse. And in the immediacy after I left him, I learned from the program at the shelter where I stayed that helped women who had experienced intimate partner violence to understand what had happened to them. It was only then that I learned about the full extent of the abuse that I had experienced. And a really good resource for this, I remember to this day, the shock I experienced when I saw the Duluth Wheel of Power and Control. And again, I'll link that. This is linked in the show notes. And I invite you to take a look, because as with many people, I thought abuse, intimate partner violence, meant physical violence. And there was actually very little physical violence in the relationship at the time. But coercive control is a term that has come up lately that is a real accurate description of what I experienced and what many women experience. And again, that Duluth Wheel of Power and Control describes the many aspects of the kind of abuse you can experience in an intimate partner relationship, and gives examples of them as well. So I recommend, if this is ringing a bell for you, you might like to look at that wheel and learn more. And there's also included in the show notes an economic power and control wheel, which breaks down the different kinds of economic power and control that a person can experience. It gives examples so that can help you learn more about this topic. So the criticism that I got and the intimidation and power tactics of power and control that I experienced in my abusive relationship developed or reinforced in me the beliefs that I was bad with money, an irresponsible shopper, I couldn't stick to a budget, I didn't understand money, and I couldn't manage on my own. It made me doubt myself and my money decisions, and I found it difficult in my business to delegate responsibility, to ask for help, or to talk about my money struggles. And these are just a couple of examples of how being a survivor of financial abuse can impact you as a business owner. For business owners who've experienced financial abuse in an intimate relationship, the effects can be profound and have come in many different forms. So here are some ways in which being a survivor of financial abuse can affect you as a business owner. It can result in financial instability. It can leave you in a precarious financial situation with depleted savings, damaged credit, and limited access to resources. And as a business owner, this instability can impede your ability to invest in your business, to secure financing, or to weather economic downturns. Another impact is emotional distress. Survivors of financial abuse may experience feelings of shame, guilt, and anxiety related to their financial situation. I sure have had those feelings. I mean, they're characteristic anyway of people's relationships with money, but if you've had experienced financial abuse in an abusive relationship, this can be even, the feelings of guilt, shame, and anxiety related to your finances can be even more intense. And these emotional challenges then affect your confidence, decision-making, and overall well-being as a business owner. And it might also bring up trust issues. Financial abuse can erode your trust in intimate relationships and in relationships as a whole, and leave you wary of trusting others, including, for example, business partners, employees, contractors, or financial advisors. And so, as a result, you may find it difficult to delegate tasks, collaborate effectively, or ask for help when you need it. You can also be affected by legal and regulatory challenges. So you might encounter obstacles, legal obstacles and regulatory obstacles related to your finances, such as navigating divorce proceedings, resolving disputes over shared assets, or addressing financial fraud or identity theft. And these challenges can divert time, energy, and resources away from your business endeavors. So it can have an effect directly on your business, for example, because the financial ramifications of financial abuse can then spill over into your business, affecting cash flow, profitability, and long-term sustainability. And as a result, you might face even greater challenges than a woman entrepreneur who hasn't experienced financial abuse in an intimate relationship. And these kinds of challenges can include accessing business loans or investment capital, attracting clients or partners, or maintaining the financial stability of your ventures. You might also experience low self-esteem. Your concerns over your inability to provide financially for you and your children, if you have some, can form the belief that you don't have what it takes to run a business. The constant berating and belittling has mental health impacts that affect your confidence and self-esteem. So it's no wonder, right? This was the purpose of what was being done. So it's no wonder that it had that effect. And under stress in your business and later in your life, the things your abusive partner used to say will repeat themselves. And the memories themselves are distressing enough, but you know, the way that they're used by the internalized critic, your self-talk, can make these thoughts that are memories from the past seem believable and true now. And as a result, your ability to connect with your strength and knowledge is undermined. And finally, scarcity mindset, which is a real thing, but it's not what you think it is. Financial abuse contributes to scarcity mindset. And as I mentioned in my post about scarcity, and it's linked in the show notes, living under conditions of scarcity, like you might experience when you're experiencing any kind of abuse in an intimate relationship, but especially financial or economic abuse, will quite rightly lead you to fear there will never be enough. When there's a situation of power and control over you, you're having an experience of scarcity. And scarcity leads to anxiety, fear, and stress. And so the protective survival psychology that arises under scarcity leads you to make decisions in favor of your survival that serve your immediate well-being and safety. But these decisions, these survival decisions, if you keep making them, can be harmful to you and your business in the long term. Also, you can struggle to access the creative thinking needed to see long-term financial and other solutions, because when you're having fear and stress, the mind is focused on survival, not on creativity, ingenuity, and solving long-term problems. It's just trying to get you to get you out of what you're in the moment and try to survive to see the next day. So this might sound like a whole lot of bad news, but there are two things I want you to know about this. First of all, this is not to say that if you experience financial or economic abuse, that you're doomed to experience these things. It's more so I'm sharing this information so that you can recognize what happened to you, if it happened to you, put a name to it and understand what's happening. Because once you're oriented to what's happening in the present moment, you can care for yourself and take the next step. Second of all, if you are experiencing any of these things, I invite you to keep in mind that none of these things are your fault. Any of these things that you've experienced were the intended outcome of the abuse. These are what we might consider wounds or difficulties that are as yet not properly cared for, and that like let's say if you broke your leg and the bone wasn't set properly and didn't receive the proper care for healing, you'll be limping until you get the proper care. So if you're limping, so to speak, I invite you to remember there's nothing wrong with you. You were harmed by someone else. These are the logical consequences under those circumstances. And there's something you can do about it. Despite the challenges posed by financial abuse, it's important for you to keep in mind, as I started, that you're not alone, that this did not happen to only you. There are many, many people to whom this has happened, including me and many others I know. And that there is support for recovery, not only from intimate partner violence, but specifically from financial and economic abuse. As a survivor and a business owner, you can prioritize your well-being, and this way you can heal from the financial and economic abuse and regain, or if you were in a partnership very early in your life and feel like you never had it, you can gain confidence and clarity. So the first thing, of course, is to find someone in whom to confide. And this might be a professional or this might be a trusted friend. The benefit of having a professional in your corner is that emotions and past experiences have a profound effect on our money beliefs and behaviors, as they do on all our beliefs and behaviors. And so working with a mental health professional who specializes in supporting survivors of financial abuse is a very first step in your healing journey. It's also important to build a support network, and you may have been separated from your supports for a long time if you're recovering or fresh out of an abusive relationship. And so you can begin to create your network of intimate and supportive others and continue to nurture this over time. This includes friends, family members, mentors, or peers who can offer encouragement, validation, and practical assistance. Joining support groups or networking communities for survivors of financial abuse can provide a sense of belonging and solidarity, or even just groups for survivors of intimate partner violence can help. The Trauma of Money is an excellent psychoeducational program that provides a very supportive community in which you can recover from many aspects of trauma and money that you may have experienced in your life, and that's linked in the show notes. Setting boundaries is a really important issue for trauma survivors and survivors of intimate partner violence, and particularly those who've experienced abuse around finances or economic resources. Establishing clear boundaries and asserting your financial independence in your personal and professional relationships is key. This means communicating your needs, preferences, and expectations openly and assertively, and seeking partners and collaborators who respect and honor your autonomy. This is really important. If the folks you're hanging out with don't respect and honor your autonomy, it's time to rethink the relationship and perhaps consider setting some stronger boundaries with those folks and maybe finding others who are more supportive. And as I said, the Trauma of Money is an excellent resource, and it, in fact, includes a module about intimate partner relationships and money and what a healthy relationship looks like. So that can be really beneficial. Educating yourself is also an important aspect of your recovery. Often we know more than we've been led to believe. But if you feel that you need more information, consider financial management or other kinds of education, investment education and other types of education around money and resources, economic resources. Empowering yourself with knowledge and skills can help you regain control over your finances and make informed decisions for your business and personal life. And I've linked the personal finance books I recommend in the show notes. If you're frustrated because you've taken classes and read books and tried all the things and still can't get it right, it's important to remember that knowledge is not what will enable you to make life-serving decisions with money. First and foremost, you need to attend to your emotions and beliefs around money, care for them, and get support for yourself, because that's what will open the way for you to use the knowledge you have. And this is recognizing that the emotions and beliefs have logical roots. They make sense. It's no wonder that you feel the way you do and that you're experiencing the barriers and challenges that you are. That's an example of self-kindness. And this kind of gentleness and kindness toward yourself can help you navigate the challenges of recovery from financial and economic abuse and business ownership with grace and resilience. In the Trauma of Money program, we say decrease shame and increase discernment. And self-compassion creates the conditions under which shame fades and your ability to make good judgments will increase. Financial abuse and intimate relationships can have lasting and far-reaching effects on survivors who are navigating the complexities of entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is hard enough already, right? So by understanding the nature and impact of financial abuse and seeking support to reclaim your financial well-being, you can advance despite the adversity that you've been through. You can rebuild your confidence and you can thrive. And what's beautiful is that when you thrive, so does your business, and the effect trickles down into your communities, your clients, your contractors, your employees, and the world. So I invite you to remember or to look for the evidence that as a survivor of intimate partner violence who's also a business owner, you are resilient, resourceful, and capable of overcoming challenges. And P.S., if you're having a reaction to the word resilient, I invite you to check in the show notes and click on the link there for a rant that I have about what resilience means to me. When you remember that evidence or you look for it and make a list and review that and really take it in, that evidence will serve you well in your recovery journey and as a business owner. This podcast is brought to you by my self-guided virtual retreat, Developing a Mental Health Plan for Business Owners. You can create your customized mental and emotional wellness plan to keep your CEO self in the driver's seat so you don't flip your lid and blow up your business when the crap hits the fan. As we've discussed today, running a business can have an impact on your mental health, and so can your life experiences. As a whole human who owns a small business, a mental health plan should be part of your business strategy. You can boost your business with a mental health plan for yourself as a business owner. The self-guided mental health plan workshop is $99 USD and includes the workshop recording, the enhanced transcript, and worksheets. And the link is in the description below. I'm the Entrepreneur's Therapist, and I'm on a mission to mitigate the entrepreneurial mental health crisis and to transform the entrepreneurial ecosystem to include the whole human in business. If you've gotten something valuable from this episode, you can support my mission by sharing with friends and colleagues you think need to hear what I've talked about today. Also, subscribing, rating, and reviewing also helps mitigate the entrepreneurial mental health crisis by making it possible for this podcast to reach more stressed out entrepreneurs who need support, validation, and tools to help them care for their mental and emotional well-being in an era of relentless stressors that can make you lose your crap on the daily. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you next time.